Up from the Gates, a story of divine dealing through Dunkirk by Captain H.E. Beresford, MASH. And so you see by the back and the mention of divine that this book is relevant for our channel here. HDD RCS DIN LDS RCS probably English, forward by Captain B. Godfrey Buxton, MC, MA. So if you know what those abbreviations mean. Dedication. This book would have been dedicated to my wife, but there is a sense in which she is as much the writer as I am. I therefore dedicate it gladly to all those many friends throughout the country whose never-failing prayers followed me through the valley. This book will be a lasting record of their praying, God's answering, and our gratitude. Now, I personally don't do dedications unless you mean an opening invocation and closing benediction. Forward. Here is a story, as thrilling as any to read, which will show that the Lord intends us to know Him in a more practical way than most of us realize. From our Bible, we may learn the mind of the Lord for ourselves in these days. A spiritist lays his mind blank for demons to fill, whereas the Christian uses his God-given mind to be illumined by the word of the Lord through the scriptures. Now, the spiritist may not be such like the Ouija board operators that worship anything to do whatever it wants with them or deliver whatever message it wants through them. There's more controlled methods of being spiritual but not a Christian. Two important points are brought out in the story of Captain Beresford, MASH. The first, faith in the promise, turns it into a prophecy, which will be fulfilled. In fact, the second, praise, should begin as soon as faith trusts the promise, for he should be thanked as soon as his mind and purpose and grace are understood. This act of praise will often mature faith to become the full assurance of faith. I'm glad Captain Beresford, MASH, touched on the problem of unanswered prayer. Well, maybe not answered in the way that one thinks, or answered in a way that, you're aware of the answer at the time. And sorrow in the last chapter. It gives balance to the whole teaching of the book. I've lost 3 brothers, all keen Christians. I rarely hear that term, but I remember that video game back in the day, or I guess it was multiple video games, the Commander Keen ones. 1 in the RAF, and 2 by enemy action. And I was so severely wounded myself that the subsequent operations passed double figures. But I can bear testimony with my parents and with the widows and children of my brothers that the path of sorrow is strewn with the tokens of His love and practical aid, with countless opportunities of comforting others with the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God. I may add also that I am glad to write a preface to this book, as it bears out my experience of a home in which husband and wife share the leading and blessing of the Lord, whether they are together or separate. So none of this feminist conflict of the sexes stuff. How often, too, we have had his financial interventions. If anyone wants a happy home, let him find a partner who loves the Lord. B. Godfrey Buxton. Of course, as we're in this world, it's God of this world and age. I mean, the real one. So, this is what we're going to get into. And the chapters are shorter than the last book.